Hello all, welcome to Alyx's World, a safe space for wrestling fans like you. I'm your host Alyx, just Alyx, and we got some drama in the world of wrestling. Unfortunately, it's not inside the ring, this is more drama outside of it. This comes from Kenny Omega, who absolutely obliterated Jim Cornette on I think it's called a CEOGaming Twitch stream. They were playing Street Fighter. I think it was Street Fighter 5. I'm not too sure. I haven't caught up on my Street Fighters. Don't blast me for it. I know a Street Fighter 6 is coming out. So I'm assuming this is Street Fighter 5. If it isn't, I'm a noob when it comes to these Street Fighter games. On this stream, he was asked about Jim Cornette and Hateful fans who constantly live to hate on AEW. And he went to bat for not just his company, but Joshi wrestlers. We're gonna listen to it. The full podcast, I'll link down below. If you want to listen to it yourself, go for it. I'm just gonna listen to the snippet where he rants on Jim Cornette. Then you'll get my reaction, and I invite you to give me your reaction down below. Sounds good? Awesome. Here we go.
A lot of our international talent, they came to this country not really expecting everyone to be as relentless and ruthless and have, a shred of humanity. It's unfortunate that that's not the case. It's not the world that they came into. It catches them off guard. It surprises them to feel so hated so suddenly. And they need to understand that that doesn't represent everyone's feelings and that people literally have nothing else better to do than to go out of their way. When I hear about what some of these pathetic motherfuckers would say because they think somebody else that has a podcast or a platform to say something negative, they think that makes it okay. It makes me realize that I'm not really gonna miss being away from all that at all.
Wow. I think he's enjoying his time off. Keep this in mind. Omega is currently rehabbing from, 3, 4 surgeries? It's a lot of pain every day, which is no different than what he goes through as a wrestler, but that man is constantly in pain. So a lot of this is frustrations coming out. He has that right. If he's frustrated, express yourself. But it's good to finally see him be transparent. This is how I feel. You don't like it? Deal with it. And you know what? A lot of what he said is true. Some people just live to cause misery and bring others down. They literally have nothing better else to do. If they're not doing it on the internet, they're doing it in real life. Why? Because they hate their lives, and so therefore they want everyone else to hate their lives. It's not right. It never was right, but that's just humanity. Especially since we live in such a capitalistic society where everyone can't be on top all the time. The ones on the bottom punch up, and sometimes the ones on top punch down. America, it is what it is.
It's hard for me, even though I can communicate in Japanese, to explain to these people that, hey, they're all just losers. This isn't how they feel. They have nothing else to look forward to in life. They have zero purpose, as a wise man once said. Literally, that's all it is. They have zero purpose in life. Their purpose in life is, as soon as the show is over, to go directly onto Twitter and to say, "Thoughts, Jim?" Or maybe they're going to get ahead of the curve. They're going to be proactive about it. They're just going to go out and say something filled with hatred and embarrass themselves, essentially, hoping that maybe someone on the same page is going to like their comment. They can see that they got 1, 2, 3 likes. That made their day.
3 times more.
Yeah, he ain't having it. Yeah, man, those people exist. If they can get something as small as 20, 15 likes from mocking someone, hey, that's 20 more people than they talk to every day. And it's sad that we have people that do that had to go to those levels because they literally have nothing else about them that's worth people talking about. So they had to create the drama. They had to create the negativity. Because at the very least, even if it hurts someone, it's worth it to them. Doesn't matter if it causes mental harm or pushes someone closer to suicide. They don't give a shit about that. But I can't respect people like that. Kenny was right. I can't respect people who go to those links to harm someone just to get that like, just to get that retweet. And yes, I have been guilty of saying harmful stuff on Twitter and hurtful stuff as well. I've always tried to do my best to keep it constructive. Have I failed? Yes, but the difference is when I catch it, I apologize for it. I own up to it. I'm human. I'm going to make that mistake. These other people are malicious. They have no compassion. They have no soul. They live off the misery of others. I can't rock with that.
And the thing is, talk about being critical. Critical of what? Critical of fucking what? The Joshi wrestlers are so much more refined. They train 7 days a fucking week and are so much more smooth and professional, and we have never once had any sort of backstage political issue with Joshi wrestlers. They do whatever they can, whatever is asked for them. If you have any sort of criticism about them, and it's like, oh, I don't like the way she looks. I think she looks funny because she looks like a schoolgirl. Well, for one, you don't even know what a fucking schoolgirl looks like, okay? You probably never even went to school yourself. These aren't school uniforms. Stop just regurgitating fucking bullshit that you've heard somewhere else. I'm not sure what number I'm on yet, but because these chicks aren't all fucking 6'5" and on the gas, it doesn't disqualify them as wrestlers. They couldn't last one fucking day training with Emi Sakura. 1 day. So, in conclusion, shut the fuck up. This goes out to everybody who has something that they think is at all interesting to say, or at all thinks they have an opinion. Maybe you do. You're entitled to that. Wonderful opinion. I just think you're a fucking idiot.
And there it is. I love this Kenny Omega. I love the fact that he's reached a point where I'm going to say what I say. You don't like it? Deal with it. Now, maybe over time, when he's not in pain, he's not under constant stress, you know, that idea of when I come back, am I going to be as good as I was before? That weighs heavily on someone. And when you're thinking about that 24/7, you don't got time to filter your thoughts. So maybe when he's in a better position, we'll get back to that filtered, refined Kenny Omega that's better with media, that's able to say the right things to the right people. Here, nah, he doesn't have time for that. And I think it's more relatable when he's this way. Look, I've talked ad nauseum about Jim Cornette. I respect his creative mind. I think he comes from an era of storytelling that we don't see enough nowadays, and an era of toughness that is gone. I mean, back then, men would purposely go to bars to pick fights. It was just something they did because that's what made you a man. Now, for me, that era of manlyhood is dying out, if not already dead. You don't need to be that type of man nowadays. It's not even necessary. You don't need to go to a bar to pick a fight, to be a man. Just be responsible. That's all it takes. It's a different era. But Jim Cornette comes from that era. An era where you talk shit, you picked a fight, you had to be the toughest man in the room. Why? So no one would fuck with you. So I get why Jim Cornette is the way he is. That doesn't excuse some of the misogynistic, homophobic, out-of-touch views he has on his podcast. And that's why he only appeals to a certain audience that likes a specific time in wrestling. They appreciate that old school type of wrestling, the 80s, the 90s, and I do too. But they have to understand, times change, different people like different things. You have to grow with society. You have to grow with the audience. You can't do what worked back in 1970 nowadays. Are there aspects you can take and apply to refine nowadays? Absolutely. I still think to this day, storytelling still matters. Characters still matter, just like they did back in the 70s. Take elements from the past, but use it in different ways to elevate the future. It's kind of crazy to me that Jim Cornette hates Kenny Omega when he is one of the only people preserving storytelling more than anyone else nowadays. He doesn't just do bumps for the sake of doing bumps. He used to, but guess what? He grew up. He understood what it takes to make people care, to sell out arenas, which he has done. He sold out stadiums. He knows what it takes to make people care, to want to spend money on wrestling. So I, for one, do not understand the hate for Omega, at least from Jim Cornette's perspective. He saw one video of Kenny Omega wrestling with a doll or a PWG video and said, I hate him for the rest of my life. That is a hateful, spiteful person. Jim Cornette is a brilliant mind, but he comes from an era of toxic masculinity that just doesn't work with modern day audiences. And what he's done is the opposite of me. I build a channel based off of, hey, come and express what you want. This is a safe space for you to be a wrestling fan. Doesn't matter if you like this and this and this and this. He's built an audience based off of hateful people who love to hate on wrestling, who don't really watch to enjoy it, they watch to shit on it. Omega's right, he's painted himself into a corner and he can't escape from it. This is him now. That is what Jim Cornette is. And quite frankly, I think that's sad. Because I think Jim Cornette can still help the modern day generation. He is an excellent storyteller. He knows how to make people care about certain wrestlers. But his bias for certain sizes, for women, for all sorts of personalities, make him extremely hard to take seriously. I listen to Jim Cornette, but I listen to laugh. He hardly says anything that I should take seriously. But it's still a good listen, because it's Jim Cornette. I just see him as TV personality Jim Cornette having a podcast. But at the same time, I think I would take it differently if I was a wrestler being criticized by Jim Cornette. I would be very pissed off. So yeah, I completely understand why Hangman Page and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and many others just do not like Jim Cornette. He doesn't help improve the business, he tears it down. And at this point in time, we don't need that. We can't deal with that. We've already crumbled our audience to a niche as it is. We don't need others running people off. If you're gonna be in this bubble, help to improve it, help to grow it. Yes, criticize it. Yes, give input, but be constructive. Yes, there are things about WWE that get on my nerves, but I always come up with ways to make it better. I'm not doing it to tear it down and to tell you not to watch it. I'm doing it because this can be 10 times better. I always try to. I don't succeed, but that's just how I am. I'm on Kenny's side. I think Kenny has a good point when he says people just look forward to hating on others. As for the Joshi wrestlers, clearly he has a bias. Those are his girls. He's in charge of the women's division, or he was, at least when the Joshi wrestlers were on top. The Rihos, the Hikaru Shidas, and Emi Sakuras. The problem with Joshi wrestlers on American soil is that not a lot of people care about them. So you need time for people to invest. In the meantime, let them like Britt Baker. Let them like Thunder Rosa. Let them like these other Americanized Western performers that they're used to. The Nyla Roses, the Chris Statlanders, the Athenas, so on and so forth. Then over time, slowly build up the Hikaru Shidas, the Rios, the Yuka Sakazakis, the Maki Itos. Then when the fans are begging you to give them more, then you push them. I think Omega's issue was he pushed them too hard way too soon. You got to give fans time to like them. I don't mind the Joshi wrestlers. They bring a much needed variety to a very Americanized women's division. It actually helps AEW to have that different flavor. And you know what? I hope we do get more of the Joshi wrestlers over time. The roster is loaded, so that won't happen anytime soon, especially with more people coming in. But I'm hoping Tony Khan can get an extra hour for Rampage and have 2 shows, 2 hours each week, where you can feature more Joshi, more American wrestlers. So yeah, give me your thoughts down below. How do y'all feel about this feud between Jim Cornette and Kenny Omega? Whose side are you on? Do you think Kenny Omega's a little sensitive? Because I'm seeing that too. Or do you think he's in the right for being frustrated and calling out Jim Cornette? I look forward to reading all your thoughts down below. Until next time, do all the YouTube things, like the video, subscribe, click the bell, follow me on social media, and leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys next time, right here in Alyx's World, a safe space for wrestling fans like you.